Hey, what's happening? Tim with Nomad Trading. I'm actually on time today. Look at me, 3:15, being on time. Try to do this at 3:15 Central Time, 4:15 if you're Eastern Time, etc., etc. Anyway, I'm always trying to get this done at 3:15, and that's the goal for the future: is to do the runner recap 15 minutes after market close, depending on where you live in your time zone. 15 minutes after market close. That's kind of the goal. So, got it done today. I'm on time. Of course, I didn't really trade anything today. I was away from my office almost the entire day. So, I was kind of at the last minute trying to look for a trade, but I didn't see any setups I really liked in the last hour or so. So, yeah, been busy with other things, been away from the market, and then I think there's been quite a few stocks moving, it looks like. So I kind of missed out, but that's the way it goes. Had other things I had to take care of. So kind of playing catch up here. Been looking through the hot stocks of the day and trying to see what's been moving. I did not take any trades today, unfortunately. It was a day off from trading, so nothing for me to show as far as what I was in and my profit or loss. So you guys are going to have to help me out a little bit. Hopefully you guys traded today and you can share with me in the chat what you guys made or lost, or what you were trading, what you were looking at. I found the ones that I think were kind of running hot, and those are the ones that we're going to look at. So we'll see if we get some more viewers in here than we've had the last couple of days. The last couple of days, there's only been a few people in here. I may not end up doing this too much longer if we don't get a bunch of people in the chat, because it's kind of fun, and I don't mind doing it, but it is a commitment. So if not very many people are wanting to do it, that's fine. I can focus more time on like making videos and stuff. But it is a commitment. Like sometimes I'll be out doing something, running errands or whatever, and I'll rush back to try to make sure that I'm here live on the channel at market close. So it's one of those things where I wanted to try it, and I have been trying it, and maybe we'll continue it if we get some interest and people like doing it. But if there's not very many people, then it becomes one of those things where I don't need to be giving up other stuff to rush back in here, and I can just place that time more around making videos for new traders and stuff in the evenings or whatever, instead of being committed to being here right at market close. So anyway, still in that trial run stage here, trying to see if people like it, if we get quite a few people or not. There's some days that there's 20 some people watching this live and interacting, and those are the days that are make it more worth it. So we'll see what happens. Maybe we'll keep doing this, maybe we won't. We'll see. Nafissa is a diehard Nomad Nationer. She's always in here almost every day. I appreciate that. Did I trade APDN? I did not. I didn't trade anything today, actually. I'm definitely going to look at APDN. That's one that I had written down as one that was moving today. One of the most exciting ones, it looked like. So we're going to talk about it. I didn't trade it because I didn't trade anything today. I was away from my office all day until about the last hour of the market, and I didn't see any setups that I really liked. And I'm frustrated with CMEG, which I'll talk about either in this video or on a video I make later. But CMEG kind of letting me down. I'll share the email with you. We can look at LMFA. This is the one that I saw that I had pulled up here to talk about first because it's nearing its daily high, and it's one of these stocks that can go crazy. I remember this day where it went from down here in the ones to like $5 or more. Yeah, I remember that day, and it's one of those stocks that has potential to do that at any time. It's got a lot of history of running up quite a bit and then fading back. So, not really something I'd be looking to hold very long. And a lot of times that means that going into the close, they'll fail. But today, anyway, it's holding up good on the news. It's got some acquisition news. It says Blank Check Company, LMFA, is let's see, Blank Check Company, LMFA, acquisition files for IPO. So I guess a company that they have acquired. Let's see, the recent run of Blank Check Company seeking an IPO continues. LMF Opportunities files Form SA, plans to focus initially on financial service deals, including potentially in fintech, with an enterprise value of 250 to 500 million. So yeah, it's kind of like an IPO play. It looks like acquisition / IPO play. Anyway, closing pretty strong into the end of the day here. So kind of watching it up here in the 230 area. If we look over here on the daily chart, it looks like maybe, let's see what the high was, 242 could be possible resistance, and maybe that's why it's having trouble up here in the 230s. Maybe because of that, people see that it could end up topping out. As you can see, the high of the day would be right here, just under 240, and 242 was the high of that candle here. So maybe people are a little scared because of that, so it's not being able to pop through that. But it's the one that I was kind of watching into close, kind of hoping that it would break out and maybe I could take a trade on it. But so far, it just keeps getting stuffed, and you can see over here on the 1 minute candles, it pops up, fades back, pops up, fades back, pops up, fades back, over and over again. So it's just having a lot of trouble in that 220, 230 area with breaking out. As far as the rest of the day goes, we did see somewhat of my favorite pattern here, the bull pennant situation, because we had the move. This one here, not as good because it pulled back pretty hard down below VWAP. I don't like that, but up here, it consolidated nicely, and then we got that pop. So the trade would have been somewhere in here in the 160s, and then it went ahead and went all the way up to well above $2 before you really had any issues where you would have been scared out of it. So definitely a 40 to 50 cent potential scalp on that move right there. Sure, I'll talk about GBS. So APDN was the next one I was going to look at, and Jason in the chat wanted to look at it too. So this is one that I was watching this the end of day. Once I got in here and got in my office, this is one I was watching also. Kind of drew just a real quick makeshift trend line here that I was watching. It was when I started watching it was pulling back right to that line, but that was getting real close to close. So I was thinking most likely it was going to fail, and it did. I was hoping it would bounce off of that, and then I was thinking about buying it beyond this candle here. If it had gotten back, if it had bounced off that rough trend line and then gotten back over that 1120 area, I was thinking about going long and trying to scalp it for $1 or so a share into close, but instead it failed and came all the way back down to VWAP, unfortunately. So far, VWAP, it's kind of hanging around there and consolidating and holding up above that. Looks like it was previously this morning halted several times, which is exciting, but you guys probably know how I feel about that. I get a little shaky on these halts and don't really like to play them. After the first halt anyway. The first halt, a lot of times you're pretty safe. You could be buying into that first halt, and a lot of times it'll gap up. But then when you get to the second, third, fourth halts, it starts getting a lot more 50-50 on if it's going to open up or down, if you're going to end up, ahead, or if it's going to gap way down. And as we've seen in previous days in the last several weeks, there's been a lot of stocks that got halted and then they turned into a halt for news, a T1 halt, which turned into the company releasing news that there is no news and they don't know why the stock's up, which is them covering their own behinds. Because if the stock moves up like that, everybody starts asking the company, what's up? Is there some kind of insider situation going on? And they don't want to get investigated and be in the middle of any of that. So then they end up releasing news, letting everybody know, hey, we don't know why the stock's moving. So you don't want to be caught on the backside of one of those situations, because then it ends up gapping down, 50, 60% right off the bat. The stock right now, it was holding above VWAP, but now it almost looks like it's going to break down further. So then we'd be looking at this maybe 975 area as a possible bounce situation. If not, then we'd be looking down to the 200 moving average, which is this white line, and seeing if it can hold that. On the 5-minute chart, again, you'd be somewhere in the 880 range would be support. Just kind of depends which chart you're looking at. But again, $9 probably would be the area to watch if it breaks VWAP. That's going to be around the 200, around this consolidation support area, and the same on the 5-minute chart. So the problem today is most were too choppy. Well, I'm glad I didn't get in on that then, if that's the case. What ones were you watching? Did you see any you liked or watched or traded today? APDN, anyway, to kind of wrap up my thoughts on that, it was just a halt play. It looks like it did have news. COVID-19 kit as one of only 2 authorized in the EUA, able to detect S gene mutation found in SARS-CoV-2. So yeah, it's a COVID play, and that's why it's gone from $6 to at one point over $12. So it was up over 100% at one point in time, more than doubled its price. Still up 83 or so percent, 81% as of right now. So not bad. And maybe if we can hold VWAP, we might get another move up. I would like to see it hold VWAP, and if not, it still would be a watch into tomorrow morning, just because the news is in that hot type sector that's been hot for really a long time. Anything to do with the virus is the hot sector. So I'll be watching it in the morning either way, even if it does break down, just because stocks that have moves like this where they're up 100%, if they're low floats and they're in the right sector, then you can end up seeing a pop in the morning, either pre-market or when the market opens. So they're always worth watching the next day, especially when they've been halted several times. They get on people's radar. So we'll see what happens. As of right now, I probably would not be looking to buy it. It would have been a VWAP bounce, but it's after hours, so not so much. This here could have been a VWAP bounce. You could have bought that as it consolidated and found support around VWAP. That would have been a play you could have taken right there. But now, being after hours, it's going to be more thinly traded, less likely to bounce. Bigger spreads. It's just not ideal after hours, so I typically don't trade after hours. Anyway, LMFA, yeah, I looked at that first, but I'll circle back around to it. Whoops, I didn't mean to send that. We were going to look at, what was the other one? GBS, that was the one that you wanted to look at. Jason wanted to look at GBS. GBS, let's see. Trading debut today. So today was the first day of an IPO. Interesting. So just kind of trying to toggle this around. So today was the first day of the IPO, if I'm getting that correct. Pretty choppy for an IPO, actually. I mean, a decent amount of range, but says IPO priced at 17 per unit, but it looks to me that it opened and stayed around the 7 range, so that's interesting. Kind of reading the news here for a second. IPO price 17 per unit, obtain regulatory approvals. So, yeah, from what I'm reading there, it was priced at $17 a share, but yet it opened up today in the 7s and pretty much was just chopping around in the 7s. So my opinion on that would be it's kind of strange that the IPO, IPOs were hot for a minute. Maybe they're not now, but there was a time where almost everything that IPO'd would shoot up 50% or more. And for this one anyway, they priced it at $17, it says, but it actually opened down here in the 7s. And no real setups because it's pretty sparse on volume, unless those are all halts. Were those halted all those different times? I'm not really sure if those are all halts or just lack of volume. Let me see. Maybe you can tell me if you were watching it today. APDN got lots of halts, LPO halts, BNGO. So I'm not really seeing that. So it looks like maybe it was just no volume in those areas. So yeah, as far as that stock goes, would I trade it? No, I personally wouldn't trade it because it's just, there's no setup and it's very choppy, both with volume and the chart itself. The chart's very choppy and the volume, it seems to be pretty sparse. So that'd be a difficult stock to be trading. You could buy it if you believed in the company and knew a lot about it, which I do not. Then I guess you could buy it as like a long-term hold or an investment scenario. But other than that, I wouldn't be touching it. Let's see. CNET was another one that was moving a lot. This one you can tell the difference between GBS and this one. You can see how this one has tons of volume and there's no gaps in it. It's just a steady flow of trading on the 5-minute and the 1-minute. This one did have a few different long setups. As you can see on the 1-minute, it's a little bit easier to see on the 1-minute. You have your pullback, which this would be somewhat of a bull flag, and then it shoots up, and then you got another pullback, and then as it breaks up, you buy it again, and it shoots up again. And as I talk about almost every day in these videos, these live streams, the third time you don't want to be buying it. Typically, the third time is when stocks will fail. I don't know why that is. It's just the rule of 3 that people talk about with the stock market. So don't be buying the third time in the repetitiveness of a pattern. So you got like the first move, the second move, and the third move. Don't be buying that third move because I would say at least 70% of the time the third move is the one that fails. And you don't want to be buying it up here right before it drops back down. These are the kinds of things that you don't know until you study and watch the stock market a lot and start to see it in real time developing. There's a lot of times over the years that I would have bought that because I would have said, hey, it's pulled back and shot up every time, so it's going to do it again. I'm going to buy it. And it's not till you've done this for years or studied enough, whatever, that you start realizing that, hey, on the third time, a lot of times that fails, so I'm not going to buy it here. It looks appetizing, but I'm not going to buy the third setup. And that's why. I talk about this literally every day on my live stream, and that's because literally every day there's an example of third pattern breakdown. So third time, I'm usually thinking short more than long. So if I would have been watching this, if I'd have been in my seat today here in the office, I would have been looking at this and seeing these tall topping tail candles here, these big wicks, which signifies downside, and it would be the third setup, so I would have been thinking short. Anyway, that also brings me to, I wanted to talk about this on the live stream. Yesterday I was talking about how, it was either yesterday or the day before, how I could short literally anything on my CMEG account, and I loved it. And I was talking up CMEG, bragging about how they're such a great broker for shorts. I mean, not only do you get around the PDT with them, but they're really great for shorting because they have shares to short, like of every stock. It doesn't matter what it is. So yesterday, maybe the day before, I can't remember exactly, but I know yesterday I was looking to short several stocks, and everything I tried to short was hard to borrow. So I'm thinking, like, what changed? Something changed here. Why is it like this? And then I think it was the day before, it was doing the same thing. And every day prior to that, for almost a year, I was able to short anything. I mean, it didn't matter what it was. If I tried to short it, there were shares to short. Now all of a sudden, I'm getting hard to borrow on everything I try to short. And it's, kind of depressing. So I sent them an email and said, hey, what gives? I kind of sent them a long email about how I brag about CMEG all the time and how there's always shares to short and how it's my favorite shorting broker. I love them because, no matter what it is, I can always either go long or short, and it's nice to have that option on every one of these momentum stocks. So I sent them an email talking about that, and they emailed me back today and said this. The stocks that are listed, ETB, which is that stands for easy to borrow, changes from day to day. Those that are loaded are what are available from the clearing firm. Yeah, I know that. Please note, when trading on the simulator account, most stocks are easy to borrow for ease of trading. However, when trading on your live account, the ETB stocks are based on the clearing firm. Yeah, I know that. I don't even use my simulator account ever. So that's, I don't know what you're talking about. Anyway, we had an issue earlier this week that resulted in some stocks that were hard to borrow, reflecting as easy to borrow. In my opinion, what you mean by this week is for a really long time. Because for a really long time, months and months now, I've been able to short whatever I wanted to in my CMEG account, not just the last week. But anyway, they are basically saying that there were hard to borrow stocks reflecting as easy to borrow. Since then, this has been rectified and the platform reflects the correct stocks that are available for shorting. Thanks for your patience, continued support, blah, blah, blah. So what I gathered from that is that unfortunately they figured out that there was some kind of an issue. I don't know. In my opinion, it's been an issue for a while because, like I said, I've never had an issue borrowing anything short. So all of a sudden now, nothing. Again today, if I look at, let me, gotta minimize some stuff here. I tried to borrow BNGO, APDN, PTE, so several of the stocks that were hot today. I tried to go short at different points in time in the last hour, and I was mostly just checking to see if they had shares. I don't even really know that I was looking to short them. I was just setting my short, up at a place where it wouldn't get filled, and just trying to see if I could short or not. And sure enough, none of them. I couldn't short any of them. And like BNGO, I've shorted that before with CMEG. So anyway, that's kind of like a sidebar that probably you guys don't care all that much about, but it's just one of those things where CMEG just went down a huge notch. It's kind of depressing for me because I was really enjoying being able to go long or short and seeing both sides of the different setups. And a lot of times I was making money shorting at CMEG the past several weeks especially. So to just have like that entire side of my game plan stifled is pretty depressing, because now like almost every stock that I'm trying to borrow, all these big runners, it's just saying hard to borrow and I'm not able to short them. So it's depressing. It's like losing one of your, I don't know, half your game plan all of a sudden is just out the window. It's kind of depressing. Anyway, back to the stocks of the day. So CNET, like I said, there was several setups, and then the third one, of course, failed. Then we did have a nice curl, and when you get a curl like this and it doesn't break out, sometimes you'll get a cup and handle. So you'll be watching for that handle. If it comes all the way back down like that, that's not so much a handle. That's just the stock is failing, the move is failing, and that's also a good time to go short, because a lot of times if there's a cup and it starts to curl and then it ends up failing, a lot of times that'll be a nice short that fades back quite a bit. So that also would have been a nice setup, a nice short, and you could have bought it for the break of VWAP here if you wanted to. It did come back and test VWAP, which is what you like to see. It tests VWAP but didn't break it, and then ended up going farther to the long side. So would have ended up being a pretty decent setup to the long side if you bought the break of VWAP, because again, it did hold it. It didn't drop back below at all. So would have been a nice scalp there. We can also look at CMRX. That was another one that was popping up on the scanners. This one was trading down here in the 4s yesterday, and then ends up today pre-market, at least whenever E-Trade opened up pre-market, it was in the 5s, the mid 5s. Had a very nice move, pulled back a little farther than I would like, but did consolidate and then break out again. So this would have been a decent spot to go long as it breaks the previous pre-market high, somewhere around 740 or so. And then I think that actually might have been market open. Let me see over here. Yeah, market open. It was at $7 was the high at market open. So yeah, this candle here would have been, this 5-minute candle here would have been the market open. So a little bit of a pullback, and then it ended up shooting up and breaking the previous pre-market high, and it would have been a very nice scalp from the 740s up almost $1 a share to a little bit over 8 probably is where I would have sold it. Then we had another pullback, another big move up, and then it pulled back and lost all of that move. At that point, I'd be getting nervous as far as going long, because it's given back all of its gains. Don't like to see that if I'm looking to go long. However, it has curled and consolidated, pretty much just consolidated sideways all day along the 50 moving average and VWAP. And now it's popped back up above VWAP, and it's almost looking like it could end up being one that could pop up and go long on, but it's going to have to break around these levels. As you can see, that this level here around 840 or so was also resistance over here, and same thing here with 845 resistance. So the next step would be this possible resistance around 850, and then beyond that it might be a nice scalp back up above 9. So something to watch for. Maybe I don't know that it would happen here after hours. We'll have to watch and see, but pre-market or maybe during market hours tomorrow, if it can keep hanging around up here, then we'll be watching to possibly have a break of that 850 area and go long. I wouldn't be surprised if pre-market tomorrow, even after hours tonight, but pre-market tomorrow for sure, I wouldn't be surprised if it ends up breaking above that 850 and being a decent long. Just because if you get a stock that's up from the 4s all the way up to, at one point, what was the high? A 932 maybe? Yeah. When you get a stock that goes from the 4s to the mid 9s and then it holds up nicely here in the 8s, that's a pretty good sign of bullishness. There's a fairly good chance at that point that tomorrow, if it can keep holding through after hours, there's a pretty fair chance that tomorrow we could see another nice pop. Because it's, like I said, it's held most of its gains pretty well. Oh, dang. Tomorrow's Saturday? What? You're right, it is. Huh. I've completely lost a day. Jay Dubman, shattering my world. For some reason, I was thinking it was Thursday today. Wow, I've been thinking all day today that it was Thursday. You just shattered my world. I don't know why, but for some reason, ever since I got up today, I've been thinking it was Thursday. Weird. It's Friday. Tomorrow's Saturday. The market's done for the week. That's depressing. Okay, well, I was excited about having another day of trading tomorrow because I missed pretty much the entire day of trading today. And now there's no trading tomorrow. Who knew? Apparently not me. So I guess Monday. We'll be looking Monday. Kind of sad now about that, but that's okay. Most people look forward to the weekends, but I just love trading, so I look forward to the week. The weekends are just, another day. Let's see what else I was going to look at. JAG-X, that was another one. This one's been running for several days. Today, not that crazy of a move from $2.99 to basically up $1 from pre-market till now. At one point, it was up to almost $4.50, but this thing's been running for several days. If we look back, this was under $1 like 5 days ago or so, roughly. So we've gone from under $1, beautiful move, up to $3, pulls back, curls nicely, and then goes all the way to $4.50. So this could be backside of the move. I'd be a little bit more nervous now just because of this move we've had. And just from the looks of it, you can see that this was following a perfect trend line up. If you look at, if E-Trade's awesome trend line tool will let me, draw it. We've had pretty much, let me adjust that a little bit. So we've had a pretty perfect trend line up until today, and now it's kind of broken below that. So now I'd be a little bit nervous. It's not completely out of the question that it keeps going higher, but when you've gone from under $1 to over $4, now it's starting to break beyond that trend line and be a little bit below that. Now I would start thinking more to the short side. But doesn't mean it can't go higher. It just means that the odds start looking a little bit more in the favor of this being backside of the move. But we'll see. Anyway, as far as today goes, it had some nice moves as far as like you could have bought the breakout right there as it curled up and broke that level. You could have bought that and traded it from a little bit under $4 to, you could have got 20-30 cents out of the move pretty easily. Same thing that you had right here. It pulls back, curls up, breaks out past that level, and again, less than $3.50 to almost $4. So could have got another 20-30 cents out pretty easily there. And then could have bought, it kind of consolidated along VWAP, but didn't really bounce off of VWAP. It pretty much kind of went below that, gave up more than I would like, kind of bounced off the 50 moving average. So it would have been almost a 50 moving average play. Sometimes you'll see these stocks that really react to either the 200 or the 50. That's why I always have them on my screen. My charts always have the 50 and the 200 because some stocks really react to those. So like on this one here, you can see that it never did really cross that. It came down and got close and bounced, came down and almost touched it here and bounced, came down and touched it there and bounced. So it's one of those stocks that respected the 50 more than it did VWAP or anything else all day. And then now it's finally breaking that. It's kind of broke below that, broke below VWAP, and now previous support can become resistance. So we'll see if this 50 moving average might end up becoming a resistance now, and we may be backside of the move from here on out, but we'll see. Also, crypto on Robinhood all weekend long. There you go. I could get back into the crypto world. I just didn't do so hot when I tried trading crypto. I only put like $500 in to trade it, and that went, poof. I lost that very quickly attempting to trade crypto. I didn't know the platform, didn't have a clue what I was doing with it. This was back when Bitcoin was looking like it was getting close to that 20,000 range, and everybody was talking about it like a year or two ago. And at that point, I tried to day trade crypto, and it didn't go well. I lost my money. I lost all my money. Look at PTE. PTE, let's see. On PTE, not a whole lot of good setups on that. Looks like it traded 86 million shares, and it was up pretty good. It's up 63% as of now. But as far as setups go, yeah, not very good setup-wise. On the 1 minute, we just see a lot of choppiness. It's just choppy all over. So I probably would not have traded that just because of it looks like a really choppy chart. Nothing too exciting there. So if I did trade it, it would have been maybe past the breakout of this level here, 125 area, as it started to make this move. But again, probably not, because it had already failed once. This lost all of its gain there, lost all of its gain there. It's just one of those stocks that's really choppy and gives back its gains a lot. So that becomes, to me, too risky to be trading it, because very quickly you could be underwater. So don't like that. Wouldn't have traded it. Let's see what else. Dogecoin's a long-term investment. Somebody else was talking about that. And AMHA, AMHA, if I'm saying that right, AMA, wants to know about LMFA over the weekend. We can look at that. And hi to Edwin. And what else we got? Is it Dogecoin? Dogecoin? A lot of people are talking about that. I can't remember where I saw that. If it was, man, I don't know. Somebody was telling me about Dogecoin or whatever it's called, DOGE coin, and that I should buy some of that. I can't remember who it was. And then somebody else was also telling me about it that was talking about Bitcoin. I predicted maybe. I don't know when the last halving was, but at the last halving of Bitcoin, I said that it's going to go to 100,000 before the next halving. And I remember I've got the chat. My little brother does crypto, and he's got the chat saved where I said that. And at that time, it was at like 6,000 or 7,000 or something. I don't know. And he thought I was crazy. I'm like, I'm telling you, dude, there's Bitcoin is a place for big money to hide their money to avoid inflation. So we're having all these stimulus checks, and we're having all this money that the government is printing, and I don't know if you guys realize this or not, but we don't really have the money for that. So we're borrowing a lot of money, and what it's going to do is cause, in theory, hyperinflation, which overall causes the value of the dollar to decrease. So Bitcoin is something that is, you can't print more of it. It's actually going the opposite way. Every time it has a halving, there's less and less Bitcoin released over time, and the Bitcoin miners have trouble. That it gets harder for them to mine more Bitcoin as time goes on. So it's more of a I can't think of the word that I'm looking for, but you can't just create more of it. It goes the opposite way. There's becoming less of it. Scarcity of it, I guess, would be the way to put it. So over time, there's actually more scarcity of Bitcoin. So in theory, if you had like $1 billion or tons of money, you could put it in Bitcoin and hide it over there, where it's gonna, in a way, do the opposite of hyperinflation. So the dollar is going to decrease in value, whereas if you hid your money in Bitcoin and put it over there, not that you wouldn't have to pay taxes on it, because you would, so you're not hiding it in that way, but you're hiding it in a way from the hyperinflation that the dollar is going to likely experience as it gets, as the depreciation of the dollar. So based on that logic, I could see people pouring more and more money, people that have big money, into Bitcoin, and that going up higher. So I kind of think that it'll be at like 100,000 by the time of the next halving, which I have no idea when the next halving is, and I don't follow crypto that closely, but I'm just saying that's my prediction. And it sounded crazy at the time when Bitcoin was like 6 or 7,000, and now it's at like 40 or whatever. So it's starting to sound a lot more realistic now. Anyway, I'll have to check out that Dogecoin or whatever it is, because I have had several people tell me that. So I will check it out. Should I buy Apple stock now or should I wait? Well, I don't really know, because I didn't think that the market would be pushing all-time highs. At this point, the markets are just insanity. I mean, honestly, there's no rhyme or reason or logic. Not that there really ever was, but you wouldn't think that with still an ongoing pandemic. I mean, we still have an ongoing pandemic. We still have a lot of small businesses that are shut down. We still have stimulus checks having to go out because of people needing money. We still have record unemployment. We still have all these things that are negatives. We've got the housing crisis, which in my opinion is going to be an insane crisis that the country is going to go through, because there's still been mortgage forbearance, and there's been a eviction moratorium, and nobody can get evicted. You've got all these things that eventually will stop. I mean, eventually all of this stuff will stop happening. And you've got all these companies that realized over time that, hey, I can make more profit if I have less workers. So they're not bringing back the number of workers that they originally had. And they're also outsourcing to people that are working at home rather than having buildings. So there's going to be buildings that come up for rent because they don't need to pay for the office space when people can work from home. I think the entire thing is just this giant shift that's happening in our country that I don't think is going to be good long term, and yet the market is hitting all-time highs. Same thing with like the election and how that's been contested, and there's been all these protests on both sides of the aisle in the last year, just a ton of craziness, and yet here we are. We've bounced back from the pandemic giant pullback that we saw, this move right here. And this is SPY, by the way, S&P ETF. So it's a good indicator of the overall market. So we had the pandemic, and then it just keeps going up, and we're hitting all new all-time highs even today. Now, does that make any logical sense? To me, not at all. It seems insane that the markets are where they are. I can't believe that we recovered from this, because if you think about what caused this giant pullback and where we're at now, what really changed? Not a lot. I mean, there's still tons of people out of work. There's still tons of businesses closed. It just blows my mind that we've gone from there to hitting all-time highs with all the craziness that's been going on in our country for the last year. So as far as like Apple goes along with the overall market, and vice versa. The market kind of follows Apple because they're huge, and Apple kind of follows the market. So if you look at the Apple chart, you're going to see it being very similar to the S&P chart. So it's not quite at all-time highs, but it's not far off of it. So would I buy it now? I mean, I guess you could buy it now. At least it's not up here. I would have been leery of buying it up here where it's getting close to being a double top, and that is what we had. But you could argue on the daily chart that this might be some type of cup and handle where this is the giant cup, maybe this is the handle. And if that's the case, then you would see this continue on to make a new all-time high and go, up here in the 150s. So I wouldn't necessarily be scared to buy Apple right now. It's not right at the all-time high like it would have been on this day. So it's kind of pulled back. So if I was, definitely gonna buy Apple, I wouldn't be scared to buy it now, especially because the market is, like I said, very illogical. So I wouldn't think that it would be up where it is now. To me, it's beyond all logic and reason that any of these stocks are up where they are, especially the overall market. But we're hitting all-time highs. So could it keep going? Sure. And if it does, then buying Apple now, you'd be buying it in a little bit of a dip. So that's my opinion of that. I'm going to go back to LMFA because AMA, I'm not sure how to say it, was asking about LMFA and holding it over the weekend. So I wanted to touch base back on that. Look at it go. See, now that I looked away from it, I was looking at buying it when it broke out, and I looked away from it, got to blabbing my big mouth, and it's gone up 50 cents since then. Man, kind of wish I would have bought that. That's the one that was tempting me to buy at the end of the day was this. I don't know. I just had a feeling it was going to be the one that was moving after hours. But then as it got choppy in here, I started thinking, I talked myself out of it. And here it goes. Now it's up 50 cents since then. So would have made $250. I had my 500, I was going to buy 500 shares of it at $230. So, well, there goes that. Now I'd be chasing it. As far as holding it over the weekend, I don't know. I definitely would be making that decision I don't know where you bought in at, but for me personally, I play things way too conservatively a lot of times. So if I was holding it now, say I'd bought it at 230 and it was up here at 280, I'd be taking my profit just because I'm very conservative on things a lot of the time. So I'd be like, hey, I made 50 cents a share. I'd probably take my profit and be out of it, and I wouldn't have the stress of holding through the weekend. That's just me. So from my conservative perspective, would I hold through the weekend? No, because you just never know what's going to happen with the overall market or, this stock itself. If there's going to be some kind of news or if the overall market's going to pull back for some reason and take this down with it, just makes me nervous holding overnight or especially through the weekend. Is that the wrong move sometimes? Yeah, there's a lot of times that I'm too conservative and would have been better off holding. But now we're pushing up. This is 2 years. This is the daily chart, 2 years of the daily chart. So if we zoom out, there's a high of this candle here. Looks like at $3. And then this one over here at $3.12. So be interesting to see how it reacts to those. If it can get just a little bit higher, will it bounce off 3, or will it break 3 and break that high over here that was, let's see, what was the high? For some reason it's not telling me the right number. There, 310. So $3 and 310 would be areas to watch if it can get up there. And the answer to your question, as far as my consideration, my opinion, would I hold it? No, I wouldn't hold it through the weekend. You're in at $1, so you're a lot safer, which is the good thing. I like to type, here and there and chat with y'all. So anyway, that one there. So yeah, you're in at $1.02. Okay, so you're in way down here. That's a pretty safe hold through the weekend. It's just a matter of will you be giving up profits or not. And I don't know. To me it seems risky. If I was holding it from $1.02 and it was pushing $3. I'd have a hard time not taking that $2 a share gain. But there has definitely been times, especially in my little stock group that I'm in, where I'm telling guys, that. And there's been times that I'm right and the stock pulls back hard and they wish they would have got out. But there has also been times where, I thought that the stock was about done running, and they held it and it went up another dollar or $2 past that. So you never know. I mean, there's no way of knowing really how high this is going to go. I would definitely watch how it's going to react to $3 and, like I said, 310, because those would be possible resistance on the daily chart. But as far as holding over the weekend, it's kind of just your personal preference. The good thing is you're in way down here, so you're pretty safe. I don't think the likelihood of it pulling from $3 pulling back to where you're at a loss is very unlikely. It's just a matter of will you be given back gains or not. If it was me, I would probably be selling up here near $3, but that's just me. To me, looking at it, it looks like it's getting kind of overextended and like it's due for a pullback. It could pull back and then it could keep going. Who knows? But it could also pull back and then end up fading back towards VWAP, and then you're losing, a dollar, over a dollar a share that you had in gains. So fine line between, holding and keeping as much profit as you can and being greedy. So it's kind of like a personal decision. If it was me, would I be selling? Yeah, I'd probably be selling. But there's been times where I've been too conservative. Anyway, let's see. I like that Pierce. I meant Cole. DDD was nice for me today in the simulator. Going to start live trading on Monday. Do you think BTC ETF will happen soon? I don't really know. I don't know too much about that, honestly. DDD was nice for me. That's the one that I made the like $700 and some shorting yesterday. And then it went up big. So definitely glad that I got out. This is a good example of, the opposite. We're talking about shorting in this situation, but it kind of pertains to that LMFA scenario. So like I was shorting this, ended up covering it down here. If I had held that, hoping that it went all the way down here and I could have covered for another $7 a share, that would have been great, except then it ended up going up and I would have been sitting there thinking, hey, I've lost most of my profit. And then today it rockets up and goes all the way up, and I would have ended up covering for a loss or break even, best case scenario, instead of making $700 and some. So you definitely got to be careful that you don't get too greedy and take it. I wanted to make over 1,000 on this trade yesterday, but it just didn't happen. It started curling up and I just went ahead and cut it. So I guess you could kind of watch LMFA and see how it reacts, and when it pulls back, does it pull back hard, a little too much of a pullback where it looks like it could be getting ready to turn, or is it just a healthy pullback and it's going to keep going? I would not have guessed that DDD was going to go to 31 or whatever it went to today. That's insane to me. I can't remember what the news was, but it wasn't even very good news if I remember correctly. Let's see. Yeah, they had price target raised to $14 a share raised, so there were some analysts raising it. Strong organic growth. So basically it was earnings from the looks of it, and analyst upgrades, but still not that amazing. I mean, they raised the target to $14 a share, which is part of why I was shorting it up here at $25 yesterday. It's because I'm like, this thing's up. The goal, the analyst end of year goal for it's $14 a share, and it's up here at 25. So I shorted it, and it worked out beautifully. Would not have guessed it was going to go up here in the 31s. I wish I would have been watching this though, because I would have possibly shorted this at the double top there, that 31 or so. That would have worked out nicely. But anyway, and this one I actually could have shorted, or at least yesterday I could short it at CMEG. That's another reason I shorted it over there at CMEG yesterday, is because I actually could get shares to short of that over there, unlike a lot of the runners. LMFA, so we're pushing up towards $3. Haven't quite got there yet. Okay. Yeah, that's a good point, Cole. I'm just kind of reading this. Why not sell half? Exactly. Good point. Good idea, Cole. I don't know why I didn't say that because that's a very good point. That's what I did on that DDD. I took wherever it was 250. I had 350 shares short up here, and I took 250 shares, covered 250 of the 350 here at that first level of what I thought would be the bounce resistance area or support area. And it didn't. It kept going, so I held the other 100 and ended up covering as it started to curl there. So yeah, that's what I do a lot of the time, and that's a very good point, Cole. You just take part of it and then hold the other part. Great idea, great plan. That is what I would do. We are pushing $3 though. Come on, is it gonna make it? Is it gonna break that $3 or bounce off? Oh, will I go from CMEG to Lightspeed? I very well might. I do like Lightspeed. That's what Ross uses, and he is exactly what I strive to be. He scalps and makes tons of money doing it, and he uses Lightspeed, and he's used all the different brokers. So I do tend to think that he probably knows the best broker since he's been doing it longer than me and on a much higher level. And I know that he's tried all the different brokers. So if he's using Lightspeed, yeah, there's a chance that I might end up switching to Lightspeed at some point. There's another one too. I've kind of discovered in the last month that I'm naturally better at shorting. Like all I've done previously was mainly looking for flat top breakouts, bullish pennants and bullish flags, and going long a lot, which I still do. But then I've realized that a lot of times that makes me nervous, and for whatever reason, when I'm shorting, I don't get as nervous with bigger size. So there's another broker that Nathan or Nate with Investors Underground uses. I can't think what it is. Let me say Biden if it's man, I wish I could think what the broker is. Does anybody know off the top of their head what the broker is that Nate uses to short everything? I can't remember. I was talking to him about it one day, and I asked him what broker he uses to short, because he always has shares to short, even of the low float type stocks. He's always got shares to short, and I asked him who it was, and he told me, but I can't ever remember the name of it. But anyway, that's one that I might be looking at. But it's a higher net worth broker. I think the lowest buy-in is or the lowest amount to fund your account is like 35 grand or something. It's pretty high. So I have not done that because if I pooled all my money from my accounts, I could make that happen. But I kind of like trading multiple accounts. Anyway, I can't think what the name of that broker is. I wish I could think of it. Man. Anyway, whatever the broker is that Nathan Michaud uses from Investors Underground, that's one that I'm also leaning towards because of the fact that I've been shorting a lot more lately and feeling comfortable doing that. And he uses a specific broker that has shares to short almost of everything. And that's how CMEG was for me until all of a sudden they fixed whatever the glitch was, basically, a couple days ago. Now all of a sudden I can't do that. But before that, CMEG, that's what I loved about them. I can go long, I can go short. It didn't matter what the stock was. I had that option, and I love that. No, it's not them. I mean, they're good examples too, but that's not. I can't think. Man, wish I could think what it is. Maybe I'll try Googling it. Um, See if I can figure it out. I don't know. I'm not seeing it. You would think it would be pretty easy to find, but for some reason it's not. Oh. Well, I don't know. Dang it. I will have to send him a message and see what it is, because I'm not seeing it on here. I thought it would be easy to find. But it apparently is not. It's not one of the normal ones that everybody can, that you normally think of, like E-Trade and Interactive Brokers, or it's not one of those. It's something that I don't know. Whatever. I'll think of it later. I'll ask him, message him, and see what he says. So, anyway, did you take any profit? That's the question. Did you take any profit or not? It's having its first little pullback here. It's pulling back to the 50 moving average on the 1 minute chart right here at 275 or so. So we'll see if it holds above that. If it breaks below that, I would think it would probably head back down to 260 or so. It's not too dangerous of a pullback yet, though. I mean, even if this is where I like trend lines. You can kind of get an idea of how much the stock has moved. So it's gone up quite a bit, pretty fast, to where it could pull back quite a bit here and still be okay. Because the idea is to keep that same trend and not turn the corner. Although, you get if you got a pullback big enough to come all the way down to the trend line there, it becomes a lot more bearish looking, even though the uptrend is still intact. But it can get shorts piling on. Yeah, on the 1 minute over here, though, it seems like maybe it's gonna, if we look at the 1 minute, there's been multiple times that it's kind of stayed around that 50 moving average. So maybe that'll act as support here. Sold 25% at 290. Smart. Taking profits as you go. You got to lock in profits as you go. I'm glad Cole said that. I don't know why I didn't think about that. But yeah, great Great idea, and definitely what I would be doing. I try to take pieces of it every trade that I have. A lot of the time, that not every trade, but most trades, I take a piece of, unless it's something where like I think it's going to drop really quick, and then I'll just get out entirely. So it's broke below that 50 moving average, but still could hang around there. Probably going to see it bounce maybe around 260, because I'd be nearing that trend line, and it would be around this possible first area of support there. It could bounce here. I mean, there's a chance it bounces here, but if it keeps going, maybe around the 260 area. Anyway, I've been on here for quite some time. Need to go do some other stuff. We've actually been on here for over an hour. I can't believe that. Time flies whenever I'm on here doing a live chat with you guys. Time absolutely flies by. Hotkeys, I don't even use hotkeys. I use hot buttons on my CMEG account. I don't like hotkeys as much, honestly. I like the hot buttons. I don't know why. Just a personal preference, I guess. But when I've tried to use hotkeys, I don't like it as much. I don't feel as in control. So hot buttons are, I don't know. I'm sure you know what hot buttons are, but they're the same thing as hotkeys. You just set them, you preset them, and then it's just a one-click thing. So that's what I like doing. I don't know. I tried using hotkeys, and at one point in time, I did use hotkeys, but I just didn't like it as much. I like the feeling of the mouse and clicking better, feel more in control or whatever. I don't know. I guess if I scalped as much as Ross, like Ross is just so like in and out so fast so many times, maybe I would use hotkeys, but I'm not trading that many times and that big of shares. Like he's like bam, 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 buys like 10 different times in a row with his hotkeys, buying 500 shares or 1,000 shares at a time, and that's how he trades. So then it makes sense with the hotkeys, and I would probably need to switch to that. But with me, I'm typically buying like 500 or 1,000 shares, not buying in 10 different times. So the hotkeys are not as important, I guess, with what I do. I still scout, but I do it more, just not on the same level as somebody like that. So anyway, that's why I use hot buttons. I just like the feel of it better. And it's pretty much the same thing. It's just like I have my hot button set up to like buy 500 shares, buy 1,000 shares, sell position on ask, sell position on bid, sell half position on bid, stuff like that, to where it's all one click. Then it just depends on what I'm trying to do. Anyway, I'm going to get off here because we've been on here for over an hour, which is awesome. But I need to go accomplish some things, maybe make another video, answer some. I have my first viral-ish type video yesterday. I don't know if you guys saw it, but I made a video about stimulus because I did not get my stimulus. Last round of stimulus, I got mine deposited, right away. This time I didn't, and like everybody I know has had theirs deposited. Everybody that does direct deposit and has like the same scenario, they've all got theirs. So then I was curious about that, so I went on irs.gov, tried to do the find my payment thing, blah blah blah. Ended up looking at my transcripts, and you can see on my transcripts that they sent the money on the 4th, which is 4 days ago, and it's direct deposit. Anyway, long story short, I made a video about that and about how to go in to see it through your transcripts. And I put that up on my channel, even though it's not trading, but it is kind of finance related. and it got over 2,000 views, and it hasn't even been up there 24 hours. So my first like viral-ish type video on my trading channel, and it's not even about trading. So that kind of figures. Maybe I might have to end up doing some more videos like that, because I gained more subscribers and got more views off of that than I have from, multiple trading videos combined. That's kind of funny how that works, but trading's kind of a niche thing. And yeah, I've had like 100 different comments to answer on that one video. Pretty crazy. Anyway, I'm gonna get off of here and go do something like that, work on answering comments and emails and all that, and maybe find something to eat. Getting kind of hungry. So thanks for stopping by. Thanks for chatting with me. I'll see you all again, not tomorrow, because apparently today is not Thursday, and so we won't be here tomorrow, I guess, but Monday. So I'll see you all Monday, and we'll be back at it doing another runner recap. Thanks for joining me. Thanks for all the support. You guys are awesome. Take care. Have a good evening. Have a good weekend. Peace.